Today we're going to be talking about all the different ways that we take care of ourselves. You might find for a variety of different reasons that it's really hard to take care of yourself. This might be because you've been given the message that it's selfish to put yourself first. It could be from being in survival mode, having to take care of others, or maybe all the other things you have on your plate. When you're juggling things like work, school, friends, family obligations, parenting, hobbies, sports, you might find that you're the last person on your list that gets care from you. But it must be, if you're here with me today, that you're hoping that that will change, or at least you're trying to take the steps for it to change. And you have to make time to take time. One of the simplest and most basic ways that we can start to take care of ourselves is by nourishing our body. When we feed ourselves nutritious food or make sure we're drinking enough water, it might seem like a really silly thing that wouldn't really actually contribute to our mood that much. But when we are feeling dysregulated, which is a stress that puts us in a place where we don't feel like we can act or think quite like ourselves, doing something like feeding ourselves or hydrating can actually go a long way. So the next time you think about skipping a meal to rush your kids to soccer practice or finish that big report that's due the next day, maybe just take a moment, check in with your body, take a deep breath, grab a quick snack and a water before you move on with the rush of your day. I don't know about you, but when I get hungry, I get hangry. And so feeding myself at regular intervals really helps to keep me in a state where I feel like myself. There's actually a common acronym in the mental health and addiction sphere called HALT, which stands for hungry, angry, lonely, or tired. And this is a way that people can check in on themselves if they are feeling off or dysregulated to see if there's any need that they might want to take care of. And as you might have noticed, hungry is the first one. So today we are going to focus on that need by making some really nourishing muffins that we can use to fuel our body. First though, let's chat a little bit more about the concept of self-care. Self-care can be a bit of a buzzword and we might not actually know what to do self-care. I think often we think about all the ways that we might need to spend money, like going on a spa day or getting a pedicure. But that's not really always what self-care is about. Sure, it can be part of it, especially if we have the means to do those sorts of things, but there's lots of other ways that we can take a look at self-care as well. First, we can take care of our physical body by, as I said before, eating enough, drinking enough water, moving our body in a way that feels good for us, and taking our medication. We can take care of social needs by hanging out with friends, maybe attending community events, or joining some sort of sports team or hobby group. We can take care of our emotional needs by talking to a trusted friend, journaling, or talking to a therapist. And we can even just kind of focus time on ourselves to do things like journaling, meditation, or any of those sorts of rest and relaxation kinds of activities. So when we're starting to create a self-care plan, I want you to actually think about like what your body and your life might need at this moment. So maybe you check in with yourself, you realize that you hold a lot of tension in your body. For me, it's always my shoulders and my neck if I do a quick body scan. So then I might think of all of the ways that I can try to release that tension. Maybe I focus on making stretching a part of my self-care plan. Maybe you've been finding that you haven't had enough time for friends or social activities and you're feeling a little bit lonely or disconnected. So rather than spending time scrolling on our phone, trying to get that connection through something like social media, maybe we make a plan with a friend and schedule it in. And then maybe we make sure we are visiting our healthcare practitioners, keeping up on any sorts of things that we need to take care of our body. Now, I want you to make self-care part of your routine. Schedule it into your calendar, make it non-negotiable. So, as we said before, today we're gonna focus on our physical body and nourishing it through food. And we are going to make some healthy muffins today. Let's get started. So, we're gonna get started, and we always wanna make sure that we have everything we need out in front of us. And I have already set up my muffin tin with liners. And if you've taken my joy and baking course, you will know that even little things like this, like rainbow muffin liners, go a long way to giving yourself a little bit of happiness. Same with having a cute apron or cute gloves. I'm all about having cute, fun things to give me those little bursts of joy. I've also pre-grated my carrots and zucchini as well as my apple. Unfortunately, it went brown really quick, but that's no problem. It's not going to change the taste of our muffins. So those are ready to go. I also have all my other ingredients here ready and all of the equipment that I need. So first, we are going to preheat our oven and set it to 350. Today, I'm just using mixing bowls and a spatula. If you'd like to use a stand mixer or a hand mixer, you're more than welcome to. But I find these muffins come together really easy, and it's less dishes for me to clean if I do it this way. So we are going to take our medium bowl and put our dry ingredients together. So that's our flour, baking soda, cinnamon, and salt. We have whole wheat flour today to make sure we are getting all of that nutrition in. And I don't have an 1/8 of a cup, so I'm just gonna use half of my 1/4 cup. Baking soda, our cinnamon, and some salt. Gonna give it a quick little stir just to make sure everything's combined. All right, and we're gonna take our larger bowl. We're gonna add our eggs, crack them on the counter so that we have less of a chance of finding shells in our batter. Got some olive oil. I probably should have pulled out a wet measuring cup, but I'm just gonna use a dry measuring cup. And then we have honey. If you've taken some of my other courses, you might know that this is from my uncle. He has bees, and so he gives me honey from time to time, which is always Really nice to use in my baking because I get to think about that family connection. Then we have our brown sugar. This is my grated apple. And then my grated zucchini and carrot. So everything goes in there all together at once. We just use our spatula to mix all the wet ingredients together. As you can already see, this recipe comes together really quickly. All of our wet ingredients are mixed together. And then we are just gonna slowly add in our dry ingredients. If you have a bigger bowl, you could probably add all your dry ingredients in at once, but I just did bits at a time to make sure that nothing overflowed and flour is not puffing all into the air. Make sure all of your dry ingredients are mixed in. Getting everything off the bottom and off the sides. I think that looks pretty good. Okay, last I'm going to add in some dried fruit. I thought I had raisins and I didn't, so that teaches me that I do need to look at all of my ingredients ahead of time. But this is just a fruit blend that's kind of similar to raisins. And I know that raisins are a controversial topic, as well as the coconut, so feel free to leave these out if you don't like one or both of them. It's not going to change the base recipe enough that it's going to screw up your muffin, so include them if you like them. If you don't, just leave them out. But I'm going to put them in because I think it adds a nice textural element. We went a little bit overboard with the coconut. And as you can see, sometimes I'm not the most clean person in the kitchen, and that's okay. It's part of the process. I just do my thing, I enjoy myself, and I clean it up when it's over. If you are adding the coconut or raisins, you don't have to go overboard on the mixing them in. We're just kind of gently folding them and everything is ready to go. So now we are going to put our batter into our muffin tins and liners. We probably want to fill them about halfway or so that they have room to expand up top. And while we're doing this, I just want to chat with you about a couple other ways that baking like this can be really used as a form of self-care, because baking can actually be something that we call behavioral activation. So sometimes you might find if you're in a period of low mood or low energy that you kind of have that sense of like, I don't want to do anything. It's really hard to have any get up and go. And then the less that we do, the crappier we feel because we're not being productive, and you might have a sense of urgency that you need to be productive, or you wind up having some consequences later when you didn't get the things done that you needed to do. So baking can be great in a couple ways. We can leave a recipe like this that's super quick and easy to put together as something that we can do when we need to get up and do something. As you saw, this came together super quickly. If you just have the ingredients handy in your pantry or in your kitchen, you could bake something really easy like this, and then when you're done, if you still feel tired and crappy, you just say, I was productive. I did a productive thing, and now I'm gonna allow myself some rest. But you might find that once you get going, you have more energy. You might feel like you're able to clean up the dishes afterwards, or do a load of laundry, or get a little bit of work done, because by getting up and moving your body and doing something productive, you gained some of that energy, and you might be able to just keep rolling on that until it dies out. One thing though to keep in mind if you're using baking as behavioral activation is that you want to keep some recipes handy, and probably, again, like I said, some ingredients handy in your pantry that are just there, so you don't have to go out and buy anything, because that would be another daunting step. Like me today with my raisins, I just used what I had in the pantry. And we don't want to have a really intense multi-step recipe, because again, you're probably not going to start something like that if you don't really feel up to it. Instead, this took a couple bowls. We finished really quickly, and when these come out, they're gonna taste good. And again, we can help take care of our future self by having these handy maybe in the freezer. So if that period of busyness or low mood continues, we have those quick snacks ready to go. Okay, just double checking how much I have in here since I've been yapping. But I think this is pretty good. There's just maybe a little bit left in each. Again, I'm leaving some space for these to grow, because they will once we get them in the oven. Perfect timing, actually. I just put these all in their tins and my oven went off. So my preheating was perfect and my oven is ready to go. So I'm gonna just pop these in the oven on the middle rack. So my muffins are in the oven, and the recipe says to do about 20 to 22 minutes. They're done baking when you put a toothpick in the middle and it comes out clean. I always set my timer to be slightly less than the lowest number that the recipe calls for, because that way, if you get distracted, the timer will go off. You can come in and check on them before they've gone too far, because you can't unbake something once it's already been baked, but you can add more time if you need. So I set my timer to 19 minutes. That's when I'll check on them. And if they need a few more minutes, they'll take a few more minutes. As we wait though, I just want to tell you a little bit about how I've used behavioral activation in the form of baking in my life before. A couple years ago, I was feeling a little bit stuck. I kind of just wasn't sure what I needed in my life that I didn't have, and I just really was kind of feeling lost and in need of a goal or an additional purpose. And then I kind of remembered that I wanted to be a baker when I was younger. So I thought maybe I would take a class, like a pastry class, or something that I'd never really baked a lot of or focused on. Unfortunately, the ones that I had in mind weren't running anymore after COVID. So as I kept thinking, I decided to bake my way through a cookbook that I have, because I realized I have all these super fun cookbooks that I only pull out when I have an occasion to do so. And there's so many recipes that I'm just waiting for a chance to try. I'm still working through this goal. I've barely made a dent in this cookbook, but it's really nice to just have that on the back burner. So if I have a day off and I want to feel productive, but I'm not really sure what to do, again, maybe I don't really want to spend a lot of money, I just look at whatever the next recipe is in the cookbook and I make it. And I share it either with colleagues, friends, loved ones, and it's just been kind of a really fun experiment. And again, like I said, sometimes having things in our pantry ready to go is helpful. So often I will look ahead at the next recipe in the cookbook, buy the ingredients, but then maybe I'm actually not making the recipe for another month. But the day that I decide it's time, I'm gonna do it, the ingredients are there and handy. So maybe you just think about that for yourself of how can I use this as a way to motivate myself, set a goal, keep myself on task with my self-care. I will see you in just over 15 minutes when we're gonna check on the muffins. All right, it's been 19 minutes, so I'm gonna check my muffins. I have my toothpick, and I'm just gonna give it a little poke in the middle. Toothpick came out dry, so that means they are finished. I'll double check another one just in case. That one came out dry as well. If your toothpick comes out wet, please feel free to put yours back in the oven, maybe on just a minute or two intervals. If you have extra batter like me, we're just gonna repeat the process all over again. When these are not too hot to handle, you'll just pop them out, put them on a cooling rack, put liners back in, fill it again half full, pop it back in the oven for a similar amount of time as you did the first time. And that is it. I hope you enjoyed yourself today, and now you have a really yummy and nutritious snack. My muffins smell amazing. I'm really excited to eat one. And I'll probably put about half of these in the freezer so that I have some for later. You are welcome to do the same, because then if you are busy, stressed, low mood, you might remember that you have a tasty treat in the freezer when you think you have nothing. So yeah, enjoy your muffins, and I hope I will see you soon.